But for now, our eyes are on the president, who has enjoyed rising approval ratings and is intervening more and more assertively to assist Republican political candidates before this year's midterm elections. Midterms typically go badly for the incumbent party, but can Trump's personal brand help turn the tide? That's the question. We're joined tonight by Fox senior political analyst Brit Hume. Brit, do these help the candidate, would you say?
You mean the candidate that's up for election whose campaign?
Right, for whom the president is stumping.
Right, yes. I think in this case, possibly so. The state of Tennessee is a state that the president carried.
Yes.
Easily. There's a reasonably popular candidate on the other side, Phil Bredesen, who was governor and has been well regarded in the state. And he's ahead in what few polls there are. So, but Marsha Blackburn has a real chance to take the seats for the Republicans, and she will need the support of the people who voted for Trump. She'll need other support as well, but she'll certainly need that, and his being there helps with that. And the other thing about it, of course, is he loves this.
No, he does love it. There's no doubt about that.
He just loves it. I mean, I think he, in Washington, he feels cooped up and he feels criticized and kind of like a man on an island, and he gets out to these rallies when he packs these huge houses and they're all fully advanced by his team, and people come and cheer wildly for him, and he makes him feel good. And Bill Clinton was the same way. He got energy from it. People who covered him on his campaigns, which I covered him as president, but not on the campaign, would say that at the end of the day, everyone would be exhausted, and he seemed to be tuned to be some last rally, and people would be cheering like mad, and suddenly he was in full cry and roaring with energy and couldn't get enough of it. And Trump seems much the same way.
So the debate over whose party is the Republican Party is kind of over. I mean, it's Trump's party now.
Well, it is, but consider that. I mean, I think it's also fair to say, Tucker, that for all the talk about how the party has been completely taken over by Trump and it will not, and it'll be his party in perpetuity. I think the Republican Party and its ideologies have had more influence on him than he has had on them.
Why do you say that?
Well, because you look at the issues, right? Taxes, right? He talked about that, but that's a central Republican tenet. Right?
Yes.
Stronger defense. Also, likewise, a central Republican tenet. Robust approach to foreign policy and defense, which the military is part. On that, deregulation. That's been a Republican, red letter issue forever. The only issues on which he has departed from Republican orthodoxy really are immigration and trade. And it's not at all clear, when all is said and done, whether what comes out of all this, the policies that emerge, will be all that objectionable to the Republican mainstream.
If there were a third-party challenge, what would the third-party challenger run on exactly?
Well, the only issue that I think that a third-party challenge to Trump or the Republican or a third-party candidate.
Rather, a candidate within the Republican primaries challenging the president.
Right. It would have to be on the issue of personal character. Right, that people would say that we need to, which is in a sense the issue that got George W. Bush elected, but not necessarily within the Republican ranks. It was, remember, going to restore honor to the White House. Remember that?
Yes.
And of course, in the aftermath of the Clinton scandals, that carried weight, and it was damaging to Al Gore, who had to fight. He had to make the decision between how closely to link himself to Clinton and the robust economy. And it was argued forever that he didn't do that enough, or he did it too much. But that was a burden on him for sure, and Bush capitalized on it. Whether that will work in a Republican primary at this stage is I don't think so, because I think Trump has kind of taken over most of the Republican agenda.
So on the issues, you don't see any kind of challenge for the nomination?
Well, I just don't think anybody can challenge him sort of from the left on immigration.
Right.
Or particularly on trade, although one of the problems with Trump's trade agenda is that it could go wrong. And we could end up, with trade barriers up that we've sort of backed into or sort of blustered our way into. And the economy could get hurt by that, and you could have somebody running against him on the economy, but the economy would have to go pretty far south from where it is now for that to happen.
How buoyed do you think Trump is and Republicans are by the potential North Korean deal?
Well, I think Trump was pretty excited about it, about the potential of it. But I will say this: I mean, my concern has been and is now that he gets into a summit and gets so excited about the possibility of what he can call a deal that would denuclearize it and end the Korean War and all the rest of it, that he makes a bad deal, that he gets euchred, which is what's it's happened before repeatedly.
Yeah.
So far, though, it seems to me that despite his excited talk and his buying in at least a little bit to the Nobel Prize talk, his willingness to say, "Okay, this is off," suggests to me that he's got his eyes wide open, and the people around him do too. And that if he gets over there, or if they try to organize this thing and it's coming to naught, that he's willing to walk away. But if he didn't do that and he got into a bad deal, that might leave a vulnerability.
So the indicators for right now, and these things change, but are pointing in the right direction for Republicans for the White House.
Well, they certainly look a lot better than they did 6 months ago.
Much better. So what would happen if Democrats failed to retake the House of Representatives? What would the reckoning be like, do you think, within the Democratic Party?
Well, it would be pretty serious. I mean, I think that the message that would probably come out of that would be that being, just overwhelmingly anti-Trump is not enough. That while that awakens sentiments in the base and is responsible for a lot of the energy in the Democratic Party these days, that in itself is not enough. It's too negative. It doesn't, paint a picture of how much better things could be. It doesn't. Right. It doesn't, really arouse people who are, most people are not passionate one way or the other. Most people are, if they're willing to vote in a midterm or want to hear from somebody who says, "Look, I can make things better for you, and here's how." And if you haven't got that in a way that, and if you run as a Democrat, some Democrats seem prepared to do it. Look, vote for me, I'll raise your taxes. That's probably not going to work either.
Do you see any stirrings within the Democratic Party, which is realigning just as I think the Republican Party is, though it gets very little coverage, but any stirrings of a positive agenda? Here's, we're against Trump, of course we are, but here's what we're for. Do you see anything along those lines?
I don't, but I'm not sure how we'd know. I mean, the truth is, when you get down to it, Tucker, that there are not a lot of really new ideas. So you're usually for, reining in government, controlling spending, although Republicans have kind of given up on that, at least in recent times. Lower taxes, sterner defense, tougher foreign policy, all of that, right? Soft regulation. The Democrats are for the opposite things, and they always will be. I mean, that's what they're about. So you're going to run on a platform that says, look, Trump is destroying the environment. He's letting the corporate moguls run amok, and the big banks are cashing in as never before. We got to put a stop to this. That will attract some support, but that seems pretty tired right now.
Certainly does. It certainly does. Brit Hume, thank you very much for that.
Tucker.
Appreciate it.